this is it started off a few weeks ago because I was interested in local fields, and I haven't actually been working in fields. I've been working in ontological functionality, if you want. So I've been a little bit, let's say, what I've done is to shift it from fields to what I normally write in. And this is not coming out as a presentation. Ah, here it is. Okay. So can you see this? Is that okay?
Yes.
So this is from local fields. So I've got a few, really they're propositions. Firstly, it defines what a field is, a region or space in which a given effect occurs that mediates interactions between distinct local entities and is something, because I can't read that, an organized vector of potential having a differential with variations, for instance, in strength, orientation, and inclination. Local consciousness may be seen as an electromagnetic or quantum phenomenon, and that's a modern tendency now. Originally, it was an electromagnetic phenomenon, but then all sorts of things developed, and now the tendency is that that it should be looked at as a quantum at the quantum level because of neuronal processes. So the vectors have parametric descriptions, and this is an important little statement because now we're dealing with information. So if we're moving from electromagnetic fields, we need to set up some sort of information field of parameters that represents that electromagnetic field. Or it may not be an electromagnetic, it may be some sort of field. Local entities can acquire parametric information, which is then subjectively interpreted and processed. The information should be intrinsic if it's a good representation of those vectors. And those vectors, if you're looking at geological structures, for instance, those vectors could be structural phenomena like mountains, etc. The information processing entity perturbs the field when it becomes consciously aware of it. The function of consciousness is not only to transmit information, but also produce it. Let me see. So my area of work really is in complex adaptive systems, and that involves dynamic processes of information. And we have associated with that the creation of order. There are levels of consciousness according to Lucas and others. Consciousness agencies have exogenous motivation and is connected with learning. They also have a function of cybernetic principles using information. Really, this is where cybernetics comes in. Self-referential loops that operate in unpredictable ways because of the complexity. So I'm going through this quite quickly. Complex systems are autonomous agencies that self-organize and create hidden order. This is a traditional definition by Hammerhoff. I think, was it Hammerhoff? I can't remember. Though adaptive processes due to dynamic networks of interactions created by populations of adaptive agents. So here we're using agency theory, where agencies have within them agents. And agencies function because of the dynamics and interactive processes that the agents within them have. The emergent phenomena arise through the interactions that occur between the agents. So here we're talking about the modeling using autopoietic structures. And in order to do that, we need to introduce virtual or metaphorical substructures. these metaphysical substructures control the physical by creating imperatives that the physical structures respond to. This is, I've written an awful lot on this, so there are a lot of papers going on this going back 15 years at least. Consciousness is a metaphysical phenomenon, may be differentiated from physical phenomenon. Ontology has epistemic attributes, and consciousness is an epistemic notion for autonomously acquired knowledge of one's proprietary mental states. So these two last statements are really designed to introduce the next two slides. This slide indicates that consciousness can be defined in terms of two composing systems, sentience and sapience. And in the philosophical field, they tend to call sentience as a phenomenal consciousness and sapience as access consciousness. Sentience is related to affect or emotion and feeling, and it gives awareness through an ability to perceive, sense, and affect structures. It uses affect structures, giving the ability to feel, and so forth. It also can involve emotional intelligence. Through cognition, sapience is related to this. Gives the ability to discern phenomenal quantities and to build adaptive epistemic structures. Uses epistemic structures, giving the ability to think and use intelligence. It also, in principle, enables the acquisition of data. I guess that is. I can't read that. So you can look at the epistemology. And this table was the result of looking at various sources in the web. And here we have awareness, the knowledge that something exists, etc. Affect, the knowledge through experience and performance. Cognition, knowledge, reason, and sufficient ground of explanation or logical position. And choice, logical knowledge, opportunity, or power to select or create options or conditions. So these can be distributed across intelligence, emotion, sentience, and sapience. And I can't read the last. Hang on, let me see. And consciousness. So, okay, I've managed to eliminate that blocking structure. So, propositions that come from, that relate to this. So we have complexity, order, and adaptation. A population of agents can create agency, which is action towards an end. When conceived as a part of an organizational hierarchy, agency acquires purpose directed towards requisite behavior. Agency has a structural physics due to a population of agents that deliver behavior, and substructural metaphysics with causal agent configurations associated with agent interactions, and through which adaptive processes like autopoiesis arrive that generate behavioral imperatives. This depends on both structural and control information. Agency is composed of two component agents, as I said already, sapience, which is has cognitive functionality, and sapience with affect functionality. They engage with, through cognition, affect interactions. So sapience generates cognition and sentience generates affect, enabling states of consciousness to emerge as levels of consciousness that are a function of degrees of complexity. The component agency configurations generate effects. For sapience, examples of effects are cognition awareness, perception, reasoning, and judgment. For sentience, examples are affect valence, arousal, and intensity. Causal agent configurations can be expressed as Piagetian networks of process intelligence. And that was published in 2008. So there are further considerations here below about how sapience works and how it relates to intelligence, and the same for sentience. Sorry. So we have intelligence for sapience and sentience, and here we have causation for both of those. I won't go through those. These slides are easy enough to see, and we'll come to what this refers to in just a moment. And here is the moment. So this complex figure has two agencies here, the sapient agency, and below is the sentient agency. They have a structure, a physical structure, here and here, and they interact through those physical structures. Those physical structures interact with the environment. The environment may be, the sentient environment is one connected with emotion, affective evaluative parameters, and the sapient agency is concerned with anything else that needs analysis because of the cognition aspect of the cognition, the sapient agency. So here we have the operative system interactive with the meta system, and it is connected by cognitive operative intelligence, which is, in other words, autopoiesis. This is essentially a version of Beer's system, meta system, but extending it to three domains brings in the work of Eric Schwartz, who originated the model in the 1980s. So here we have a strategic processes. We have self-regulation. Here we have a capacity for, in the meta system, we have a capacity for homeostasis. And it is this part that regulates the way in which these operate. Everything, the way in which this operates, functions as a self-regulating system is through behavioral intelligence, and behavioral intelligence needs to pick up information from the environment, and that must be good information. The good information is created through something called Fisher information, which minimizes what they call lossy, the loss of information from structures that one can observe. The same thing effectively happens with the affective structures. When individuals look at emotional processes within the environment, from those feelings can be generated. And in fact, the affect generates motivation for the cognition processes. So here we have another set of propositions which describes the different intelligences. And it says that providing the intelligences are not pathological, then what that means, you see these three dots here and here and here and here. What sometimes happens is that these, what I call figurative intelligence, is sometimes faulty. They're composed of processes, and sometimes the processes don't work so well. Sometimes they're not, they don't coordinate. Sometimes they just don't work. And when that happens, you get problems, so that homeostasis becomes impossible. If this section becomes null and void as far as the agency is concerned, then the result is that this system works instrumentally and it responds to environmental perturbation according to a set of routines that it already has built into the metasystem. It can't generate anything new or even consult with existing knowledge. And so it's like if you want, like a cork bobbing up and down in water. In the paper that this relates to, which was published in 22, I discussed zombie systems. And zombie systems are those which don't have connections here. So if, for instance, in AI systems, if you only have a strategic process with an operative process, you end up with a cork bobbing in the water in responses to particular questions. In other words, they can be as right, just as wrong as they can be right. And that seems to be what we can experience. The problem is that even the best chatbot systems don't have an effective dimension, and therefore there's no processes either. So here I'm not going to go through this because I'm coming up to the end of my time. Here we have a table which distinguishes between levels of consciousness. It may be a little small to read, but this is from Bitbol and Luisi and Bailecki, who devised these. The original one was in 2004, and these people here are microbiologists. I can't recall what Bailecki is, and he doesn't refer to Bittel and Luisi. So either he didn't see the work or he just didn't reference it. I include spirit in here, not because I'm trying to link in with religious processes, because today spirit may be perceived as an activating principle or vital principle. And the Greco reference explains that this vital principle is not the traditional old idea of vitality, but it's an updated, more modern version of what constitutes an activating or vital principle. Consciousness is often thought of as a local phenomenon. Those that center on physical brain and body in space and time. However, seeing consciousness as a field can better explain non-local phenomenon. So, for instance, it can explain brain-to-brain communication, which does not involve bodily functions. I think that's it. Done it. Okay. Where am I? I've lost the screen. Ah, here we are. Sorry, so I rushed through that. Any questions?